Welcome back to the channel. This is my Insta360 X5 camera, and today I thought I'd do a bit of an update just on, or answer some questions that I get on a lot of comments from viewers about my camera setup. A lot of the questions are like, hey, do you use lens protectors on this, etc., because you're going to get it shot out. And so I thought I'd kind of address those today, as well as the fact that I have got a bit of damage on this Insta360 X5. So I'm going to do a little bit of a replacement, but I'm going to talk over why I think this camera is, for me, the best camera to record my airsoft gameplay. I love it. It's for the kind of person that I am. I have that FOMO a lot of oh my God, did I catch that in my GoPro? Did I get the FPV view that I wanted to? Was I looking in the right direction when that thing happened? And this thing gets rid of all of that, because it is a lot more work, i.e., you don't just have the file ready to go. You can't just download it and download it from the camera and then upload it to your channel. You do need to create the actual video file from what this thing is doing. However, it gives you so many different options to create gameplay. And I have talked about this camera in the past and my setup. So there's gonna be an overview of going over that, but I just kind of wanted to reiterate how this thing pretty much is my go-to for everything now. Any content that I want to film. I actually even took this recently with my two sons to a pump track, one of those little kind of tracks, and he had it on his bike, and I just had a little mount and I just attached it to the actual front of the bike, and it was amazing because I could actually look back at his face, I could look at what he was doing, where he was going. I was a little bit worried he was gonna fall over and break it, but it didn't. I play airsoft with this thing, so I was it's worth the risk to try and get the footage. Now that is going to be, I think, the main theme of this video, or this reason why you may want to run this. There's a risk in running it. GoPros are fairly easy if you're just going to use a GoPro to record footage, where you can get a lens protector, and that lens protector isn't going to affect the footage that much. It's generally going to still be very good footage. And if it gets shot, it may break the lens protector potentially, but probably won't, and you'll probably be fine. Whereas with this thing, it's expensive. It's going to be a similar price. I think it's about $500 to buy them. And you are going to, again, have that same issue. Well, you're going to have a worse issue of, you don't just have one lens to potentially crack. You have a big screen sitting right here, which you can see potentially in this little, if I get the light right on here, there is actually a position here where a BB's basically hit the lens, and I'm going to replace that now. But you also have two other lenses. So you're not just kind of oh God, am I going to get it shot? And is that one lens going to go? You have the option here of a lot of lenses around this camera that could be hit. So as I've kind of gone through why I love this camera, it's just, I thought I'd scratch the lens there, but it's not too bad. It's just really, really good. The quality of it's really good. Downsides is going to be potentially long distance or far away ranges. If it's something really, really, really far away, it's not a scope cam. You can't zoom in on it in that same way. But anything that happens which is exciting in the periphery of you is great. And that means, is it over your shoulder? Anywhere that this kind of imagine this kind of orb or bubble around these two lenses, anywhere that can see, you will have captured, and then you can go back and kind of do it later. Now, things that I have learned with this camera that have got better. The first thing is, when I originally started using it, this big thing here is a screen. So I'll show you here, but this thing is a big, if it's got battery, yeah. So that's a big screen there, and I can scroll around it. I can do everything. It's a touch screen, but it's bright. And so if you are in a environment where it's dark, where I play CQB, for instance, and you've got this big white bright thing right there, it definitely gives you away. You can see there that it's actually just turned off. Now, there's a setting that I have on this camera that you could put on your one if you're going to run it, where you have that screen just go dark after 10 seconds. You can reactivate it by just pushing that again, and the camera comes back on. But for me, it's great because I'll start a game, I will literally hit record, that thing will be there for a couple of seconds, and by the time I'm engaged and playing, it's gone dark. So that's not giving me away. I actually didn't realize it had that setting for a while, and what I was doing was actually just putting masking tape over the top of it. When I played in the UK and I was doing these games, that's what I was doing, because I was this is so annoying, it's giving me away. That's not the case. You can just do that setting. So that's my number one tip. Just go and do that on my first tip. The other thing is this is a here and this here are two lights. And basically when it's recording on the standard settings, they're flashing. And so they are like flashing red, and the same thing. It gives you away. It's this thing. I actually had someone who eliminated me and said, I had no idea you were there, but I just saw this red flashing light. The same can be said on a GoPro, and a lot of people will tape those. You could tape those, but there is also another setting in this camera where you can just turn it off. Now, there's a plus side and a minus side to that. I really do like the idea that I know when it's recording, because with this thing, I just hit record, and then sometimes you're like, is it recording right now or is it not? Did I hit that button enough? With this screen, it will say like recording on it, but when that goes dark, I'm like, is it recording? And there is no way for me to tell if it's recording. For me, it's like a give and a take. I'm going to give up like that reason. I'll just be like, okay, you know what? I won't necessarily know it's recording, but I may stop the recording, see the screen like hit no recording, and then like re-engage it. You know, it's wasted like a file. It can be a bit annoying where you have to wait a couple of seconds for it to power down and then hit it to like power up again. The other thing is that it does sometimes cut off like the first 2 or 3 seconds and the last 2 or 3 seconds. So that can be annoying. So another learning thing with this is like, oh, it's the end of the game. Just wait like 10 seconds and then hit. Because, you know, if you just have an amazing moment and then you hit it, for some reason, it loves to cut a few seconds off the end when you hit that like off button. So I don't like that. But generally, it's pretty good. This thing in low light is amazing. It's got this pure video mode, which is great. And you can kind of like hit it onto that pure video mode and it's done. If you haven't seen how I've had my setup in the past, this is how I mount it. So I have on this Team Wendy helmet a little Picatinny rail at the front here. I have what I had was a 3D printed version of this, but I now actually just have like a metal version just because it's a bit more hard wearing. And then I have this, which is is it a 3/4 inch? I think they're called, or a 1/4 inch like camera mount, which is what goes in the bottom here. So all I do is literally just attach that on there. It does stick out a little bit further. I could put it further back, but with this here, I like to have the screen facing my face so I can kind of know when it's on and off or when I'm turning it on and off. And then it also will have that little red bar, which makes me know that it's like started. So that's kind of good. It's at an eye level where it kind of stays out the way. So it's not as good as having maybe the GoPro here where you just can't see it at all, but it is like out of the way enough where it's not getting in the way. It does and has done occasionally got caught on things or has like scratched up against the side of a wall or something like that, which is annoying, but it's not too bad and you kind of get used to it. It's not much different than from like running nods. You know, like if you had your nods here, like they're a lot more protrusive than this little camera is going to be here. So I think this location is great. I've tried, and you may have seen videos again of me like mounting it on the front, and that is also great, but you don't quite get the same view over your shoulder. I like having it on the right here because you kind of get the view down your replica. If you're firing it, you can see the action because I use gas blowbacks. So that's kind of great. I have damaged these lenses before, and people, this is the comment that I'll get, is people are like, hey, have you damaged the lenses on here? Will they stand up to BBs? Do you use lens protectors? Now, they will not stand up to BBs. I actually haven't had one shot out. I was expecting to have one shot out by now, but I actually haven't. The damage that I've done to it is when I was playing an incursion in the like air raid shelter that you may have seen one of the gameplay videos or some of the clips of. And I basically was just going along the edge and I just scraped it along some stone, some like brickwork. And it just put a small scratch like on the actual lens. Now you can still record and it's not like massively affecting it, but you can definitely tell that there is some kind of scratch there. There's a distortion in the video when you're watching it. How bad you scratch it is going to like vary, and you know how bad the actual footage is. It would have been fine, and I could have carried on, and I did carry on recording with it. You know, like it doesn't make a massive difference, but you do want to change that. And when you're spending $500 on a camera, you're probably like, I don't really want that like distortion in the lens. So what I actually did was replace the lens. You can buy lens protectors or like covers that will go on these. I tried that. It does affect the video quality quite a bit. And I would say when you're in like a dark environment with like shining lights on the lenses, that's where it affects it. So I would just say don't bother doing that. Just like, I wouldn't say don't bother doing that. If you want to do that, but it is going to affect the quality. The great thing about the X5, which is the latest one, which is not the same as all the other Insta360 like cameras that they've had, is that you can buy these lens replacement kits. Now, you could replace the lenses on the other ones, but you'd have to send them to Insta360 to do it, which was a bit of a nightmare. I actually never ended up doing it. I've got one older camera that's got a bit of a scratch. I just put up with it. But this is actually super easy. You literally just have to like pull the lens off, rotate it. I've actually done a short video if you want to go and check that out where I've actually replaced the lens. But these are about $30 per lens. So for me, it was like, okay, it's probably going to get shot out. If it gets shot out, I'll stop using it in the game because I don't want another BB to go in. Chance of that happening are very low, but another BB to go in and like hit the actual like proper lens inside. So I kind of was like, look, I'll take a view that this thing is going to get shot and it's going to get damaged. So the lens will break at some point. I'll just say, you know what, instead of running lens protectors, I'm just going to buy a couple of extra lenses. When it happens, I'll do the process of like replacing it. It comes with like a little, what is it, like a little squirty thing, air pressure thing. So you, obviously when you get shot out in an airsoft environment, you're probably going to get dust or dirt. So you can spray that out. You can then use this little lens removal thing that like goes on the lens itself, will rotate, take the lens off, and then you can just put the new one on. They come in like sets of 2. And so it's really, really simple. So for me, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do that. So the main question that I get asked is like, what lens protectors do you use? I don't use lens protectors. I just take the view that I'll take the $30 risk and eventually I will have to replace it. However, I've played, I don't know how many hours of gameplay with this thing, like a lot, and it's not got shot. And I do play very CQB, like close quarters, still hasn't got shot. That's a complete odds game. Like could get shot the first day you play, could not get shot for years, I'm sure. But it is in a location which is close to where you're going to be holding a replica. I'm very surprised for me because when I am like playing and I'm looking around a corner or something like that, this is almost the first thing that is there. That is always on show to whoever I'm shooting at. It's the bit that I'm not covering. I'm trying to keep as much of my body like behind a corner as possible and only maybe like a slide of my elbow and the replica coming out. And for some reason, this thing just hasn't been shot. However, I did notice that little crack there that came through in the last time that I played. I actually didn't notice it until yesterday. And I was just like, oh, actually, I just noticed that that's there. And that is a BB hit. I can see that there's a point of impact and there's kind of like a ripple that goes out from there. So there is another thing that you can buy, which I bought luckily and put on there, which is the screen protector that goes on there. Again, I think these are about $20. This says it's a cooling screen protector. I don't know why that says that, but apparently it cools it at the same time. It has some weird like frost thing here. I always buy stuff from Insta360 is another thing to say. I think Insta360 stuff, if they're making it for their actual brand, is going to be the best quality. So I'll buy that as opposed to a third party, unless it's something that Insta360 or the company that make the camera don't make. And then I may end up doing that. But this literally is just a stick on. I'm going to do this in a second and we can have a look at that. It's a stick on. It's super, super easy. Or should be super easy. And I didn't know if this would just protect it or if it would actually damage the screen below. It looks like this will protect it. So if you are going to buy one of these, go out and get an Insta360 X5, do similar content capture to what I do, be able to look back at yourself forward wherever you're going to look. I would definitely invest in lenses. If not, you want to do the lens protectors, do that, and screen protector, because that is definitely a big target on this. That is going to be potentially an issue. If you get it shot, you're going to lose a lot of the functionality, and that you can't replace yourself. So I would definitely put that one on there. I'm going to open this up so we can actually just replace it as I'm riffing and talking. Okay, so other like slight downsides of this camera are that because you've got a stitch line, it's basically 2 images that are being stitched together in like a 360, and that is you know what I'm going to do quickly actually is I'm just going to pause the video and take a photo of that actual crack just so that I've got something for a thumbnail. Sorry, I shouldn't be doing this in the middle of a video, but I've just thought about that. So one sec. Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, that's pretty dumb of me not to do that. But I just thought, you know, if I'm taking a thumbnail and you guys want to see what this video is actually about, then probably best to show you an actual cracked screen rather than just like a box. Again, my content mind is like working as I'm talking to you. So the stitch line is one thing that's kind of annoying. If the replica is far enough away from you, then it's not an issue because obviously you're just kind of like, it's stitching it at a distance. However, sometimes when you've got the replica here, it's close enough where you're getting some distortion between the stitch lines. How I actually end up doing that is I rotate it slightly and try and like pivot it out a little bit just so that I can try and remove, imagine there's a line that's going right down the middle of the camera here, like down the center point. If you can try and get that out the way of what's going to like intersect something that's close to you, i.e. your replica, your equipment, whatever it is, then you can kind of get rid of that. So that's another tip that I actually like. Okay, this is kind of cool. Look at this. So they've actually given me like a piece that's going to like align it, which is going to be good because that's exactly what I need. Got a little scraper, and then we've actually got the screen itself. And then here's also a little prying tool, which is what I'm going to use to get this thing off, actually. That's probably a good idea, isn't it? Okay, so I'll put this here so you guys can see it, and I'm going to get working on this. It says the application kit. Let's just open this up. It's not a big deal, I find, if you've got like a little bit of dirt in between the screen and the screen protector, i.e. it's not going to do anything function-wise, but it is like, you know, with your OCD, it's kind of a little bit annoying. Charlie started barking a bit. You can hear him in the background. So I'm going to try and just like take this off and then just put this thing back on without removing anything. But we'll see how well that goes. I think what we're going to do is just basically line this thing up and then instructions for use. I probably should read it. Okay, it's got all the stuff. We're putting that down. Then we're doing it. And we're doing that. Okay. That's basically what it's telling me to do is that, which is pretty simple. It's kind of like how you put, exactly how you put one on your phone. Okay, so I'm going to take this off. Charlie. This is not good if he starts barking. We're going to have like George situation where our little guy George used to, you know, bark every time I would use a replica. Okay, so there is actually some dust around the outside of where this is. So I'm just going to do this little dust cloth. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, that's on there. Little hair there that got stuck. Okay, that's not good at all. I just got that stuck on there. Okay, and that is on. And I think we may have got away without getting any dust. Where's my little scraper? Okay, I think you normally want to... This is just my knowledge from doing it with your phone, you know, where you kind of like draw a line down the middle, and then I'm just going to do this little scraping, get rid of any air bubbles. Got a couple there. But if you can, like, another tip actually would be if you guys can do this when you first get the actual camera, I always think that's a big advantage. Like, instead of like using it, getting dust and grime on the lens, if you buy or you order your Insta360 X5, just order the lens protector at the same time and do the install when it's like as fresh a camera as you can. The lens is actually, sorry, a screen protector. The lenses actually don't seem to scratch very easily. I have to say, like, this one scratch that I ended up doing, it was me hitting the wall really hard. So I wouldn't worry too much. I think the older Insta360s definitely used to be like, okay, if you just lay it on the ground in the wrong way, it's gonna like do that. The X5 to me seems like they've done a very good job of like making the lens better. So I have not had any issues. You know, I generally will always not try and put the lens on anything, and because their lens is on this, which like a bulbous in the way that they're like sticking out, it's very, very easy. Whenever you put the camera down, it is gonna like lay on its lens in some way. So I always will try and like angle it like this or something like that where it's not gonna get in the way. This is pretty good. I don't think there's any dust. There's just a couple of these little air bubbles which keep coming back. So I'm just going to keep working on them and try and get them out. I also buy just a massive SD card. You know, like it can be kind of annoying, I find, is if you like buy like, oh, I'll buy a 128 megabyte SD card or whatever it is. And then you shoot the footage and then the SD card fills up and then you're like, okay, I'll buy another one and do that. I rather just buy a 1 terabyte card, spend the extra money, and then just be like, right, well, that's my card for the for this camera. Because like I'll lose SD cards. I'll be like, okay, where did I put that SD card from this? I suppose if you're shooting like a long event or something like that, then like maybe you want to do that. But I just do a big SD card. Another thing is battery life. The batteries are actually pretty good, like very good in terms of like the time that they have. But they are also like quick. Let me just make sure this is turned off. Okay, I just want to turn it off. They are also very, very easy. You can get a long length one and you can just carry a couple of these batteries. What I sometimes do is I have a portable battery pack and I'll just take that with me. And so at the safe zone, like halfway through a day, I'll just plug it in and then just like charge it up a little bit. But actually you can buy a couple of these batteries and it's not like, you know, there's no way to change it. And then you can just pop a new battery in. So it's super simple to do that as well. I know that's another annoyance with some of the GoPros, like the mini ones, which I use, is like you don't have an option to replace the battery. You just have to plug it in because it's like an internal battery. This one, they've done that, which is great. You can buy a white version of this now as well, apparently, which I wouldn't do for Airsoft, but if you want to get a white one, you definitely can do that. You know, maybe if it's for skiing or whatever it is. I've actually just noticed there is actually a little chip, not on the lens, but on the like cap bit that's going around. And I presume a BB has hit that. The actual body itself has stood up to BB hits, like it's been hit with BBs. And there's been no like cracking or issues with that. I think it's just going to be the glass components, but that there you can see on that thin bit of plastic, you see that little white area there. That's just where that's had a little nick. It looks like it hasn't done any damage really. It's just kind of like skimmed it. But definitely, I think that must be a BB. There's no way that anything else could have done that damage. Okay, guys, so I think that's pretty much done. Like that's kind of easy. Like you can see now that new screen protector's on there. There's no crack in it. It's like ready to go. There's a tiny little air bubble there that I'll just work on after this video. But only other thing actually is just to mention, when you see I am at home and I'll do different Airsoft content, like on my shorts, I've got a couple of other setups for this. I've actually got a mount that I can put it on my replica, so that I can kind of get that angle. This is another one that I'll do. I wouldn't play with it like this, but if I'm at home and I'm trying to do like a tactical reload or something and show you guys what I'm doing, I just found basically a little arm. It stitches the arm out, which is great, like a selfie stick. And you'll be able to see this bit here, but that's not a big deal. And that will give me, again, just a much better view of like side onto the replica or right back at myself. And I just, I like that. I could put it right the way in front and then do it, but this arm is great. And then I've also got another attachment here, so I can just take that arm and attach it, but it's not really tactical enough to play with. Like this thing is like acting like a unicorn as you're kind of like walking through stuff. So that's where that is. I'm very excited to see what Insta360 come out with next, and like what the next camera is going to be like. But this thing is, I feel like the technology's got to a level now where it's good enough. Like there's you know when you first got your first iPhone or whatever it was, and you were like, oh, I wish it did this, or I wish the camera was better. And now it's kind of like with iPhone cameras and smartphone cameras, you're like, this thing's I don't need a normal camera. I can just do it with my iPhone camera. Like it does everything pretty much I need it to do. That feels like we're at that point with Insta360 or 360 good 360 cameras. I think maybe stuff at distance and then slightly better low light, but for 90% of the stuff, this is great. When I first got one of these, I was actually using it in my real estate business, and I would go and look at houses, and I was like, if only the quality was a bit better. It's too pixely, it's too whatever. These shoot now in 8K, effectively like 1080p, 4K, and it's just so good. So I think we're at a stage where it's going to be small increments. It doesn't necessarily need to be big dramatic things, and you waiting to get the next camera isn't going to do a huge amount. I hope that's it, guys. I'm trying to think what else I could talk about, which you guys would find interesting about filming my 360 content with this camera. But hopefully that's kind of been a bit of a, like, just questions answered while I'm doing this. If there are any follow-up questions you have, put them in the comment section down below, and I'll get onto that ASAP. And if you want me to do a follow-up video with any of this as well, let me know and I'll get on that. All right, guys, have a great day. Speak to you all soon. Goodbye.